Thank you for pressing start on episode 77 of Underplayed, KZUM's indie video game podcast. Today, we recap and reflect on the games of Season 7, and we take a look ahead by planning our featured game roster for Season 8. Here on Underplayed, we review indie games of all kinds, the games with small budgets but big hearts, the lesser-known experiences with imaginative ideas. I'm Bo Poe, but it's not only me. There's a guy with a flow who's on a journey. So won't you put your hands together, please, for the Zeo Drifter, the indie game sifter, the curse-cracking mister, DiscoCola. What is going on?
Nothing much, my friend. I'm just happy to be here with you today to conclude what was a pretty good season, I think.
It was an amazing season. I'm doing really well. That's the last time I'll say that rhyme. I get a little emotional every time, so now I have to write a new one.
I mean, you could always... The only rule that says you have to write a new one is one set by you. So.
I know. I set all these arbitrary rules for myself. That's how I live my life. It just, you know what? It adds spice to my life.
Yeah.
That's
I'm a completionist. That is an arbitrary rule.
Right.
So.
I guess that's one way we're really compatible.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It is our Season 7 finale episode. Everybody, welcome to the end of Season 7 of Underplayed. This is the 11th episode of the season. This is where we're reflecting on the 30 games we played and reviewed over the past 6 months.
Can we say that again?
Yeah.
30 games.
30 dang games. That is a lot of games.
I don't know that everybody always is like, oh, Underplayed, but 30 games, my friends.
Lot. It is a lot. We play a lot of games every year, and we're going to play 30 more games in Season 8. So a lot of them will be mysteries to each other, but in this episode, we will also pick our lineup of 10 featured games for Season 8. This is where we're looking at what games are going to be the main featured reviews for each of the 10 main episodes of the next season. And we already have some in mind because we have guests who have picked some. So we'll get to that later in the episode. That's part 2 of the episode. But first, we are going to look back at Season 7 so that we feel good about moving on to Season 8. We also want to say here up at the top that as we talk about Season 7 games, we're going to rank things. We're going to talk about our scores that we gave to the games. We're going to, compare and contrast games here and there. And ultimately, the idea of comparing games in a season is arbitrary because every game's different. Mm-hmm. We could throw all 30 games into the bin and pick 30 other games that we could have reviewed for the season.
I mean, like Papers, Please is nothing like Kogen's Sword of Rewind.
Exactly.
But here we are they're in the same soup right now.
Exactly. So really what this is about is giving us a good excuse to look back before looking ahead.
Yeah.
And we want to thank many people from publishers and game developers to personal friends of ours and other folks. So let's just go back and forth in our list of thank yous. Do you want to take the first thank you here?
Yeah, sure. Up first, thank you to Future Friends Games for the gifted keys to Grun and What the Car, both of which appeared as secret games in this season.
Yes, and thank you also to Neon Hive for the gifted key for Miniatures, another secret game of mine.
And then we want to throw it to our first guest of the season, Noah Lone, a.k.a. Some Humble Onion. He was a guest on our Katana Zero episode, and that was a great episode.
And it was quite a bit of work to get that recording scheduled because we had back and forth conflicts.
Yeah,
there were trips, there were family events, there were sicknesses, and we finally made it work. And I just want to, again, thank Noah for being so patient in this particular case where there were just a lot of coincidences happening. So we're really appreciative of that. We also want to thank Oscar Losada Suarez from Triband for being our guest on the Untitled Goose Game episode. Very exciting to have a game dev from the team that made the What the games and is about to release another What the game.
Yeah, What the Clash.
Yeah, very exciting. That was not on our bingo cards.
Not what we expected.
Yes, and our first guest that was a significantly long ways away from us and in a very different time zone and was also very understanding of the challenge of that in finding a recording time, and he made it work so well.
Yeah, so much gratitude. Also to our third guest, Jeremy Reineck of Moonsoul Games. as well as for the key to Grand Soul Story and for being a guest on the Animal Well episode. So thank you to Jeremy for appearing.
That was a pretty incredible gift to give you Grand Soul Story so early. Like, he had faith in us and just sent us the key, I think in early 2024, maybe mid 2024.
Yeah.
And so we've been holding on to that for a while, and we finally made it work. And he was a great guest for quite a number of reasons. We also want to thank Lucy Blundell and Hilltop Games, some developers, for listening to our episodes and interacting with us on social media. That really means a lot.
And then next to Andrew Valentine, who goes by AV on Bluesky. He got us added to the 6-1 Indies indie game coverage directory, and also to 6-1 Indie for adding us to that great big list of indie game media people.
Yes, that was such an honor to be on that list of greats. We want to thank our dear friends, A Specific Egg and Cater Blossom from No Small Games. They did a bonus episode, Swapsy Butler Projects, for April Fools with us, where we did a show for their feed, they did a show for our feed, and it seemed almost impossible to pull off just with how busy everybody was, with how aspirational the idea was, and it ended up working super well. It was so fun.
Yeah, very date specific too, so it's not like you can really delay it
Right,
either.
exactly.
You have the deadline.
It all worked, and we sort of stepped into each other's editing shoes. We really understood the brand of each other's shows for a couple weeks as we were preparing for that. That was super cool.
On that note, I want to send a specific thank you to Claire After All for all the kind messages about that April Fool's episode that really kind of made it all worth it in the end, too.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't great fun, but it was work. So that really was like, yeah, paid off.
Yeah, and so many people gave us great feedback about that. I saw lots of chats in streams after that happened, and I honestly couldn't keep track of them all, but you know who you are if you told us how great of a job that we did, and as well as the No Small Games girls. Thank you so much. We want to continue to thank Cater Blossom for buying Ibn Ob twice and for playing the game with DiscoCola, because DiscoCola reviewed that game as a secret game. That was so cool.
That one promised to be cross-platform, and I think for a time that was true, but the Switch port came out so much later than every other version that it just wasn't compatible. So she bit the bullet and she bought it twice, and then we played it on Switch. So thank you, Kate. I really appreciate it. We want to thank A Specific Egg for gifting Bopo Fruit Bus and Mainframes, 2 more secret games that appeared this season.
2 games that I knew I would really like, and she knew I would really like.
Yeah.
So that was a very meaningful gift twice over. Thank you so much, friends. We want to thank Matt Stormageddon for having us on individual episodes of Fun and Games Side Quest series. I did an episode on Animal Well. DiscoCola did an episode on Hyperlight Drifter, and it was a ton of fun to be able to be a part of that series that is hundreds of episodes long and just add our voices to a well of passion.
I'm taking some notes on another one at some point.
Yes, so let's
I
go.
already know which one.
I have ideas in my mind. I haven't quite started to take notes yet, but that's so cool. I look forward to that.
Up next, we want to thank Jacob from the Pre-Order Bonus podcast for having Bopo on an episode of Indie Impressions, where they talked about Grun, and that was a really great episode. I learned a lot about Grun, and I learned a lot about Jacob, too, in that episode.
I love when you listen to an episode and you learn not only about a game, but also a person, and Jacob just made the whole process easy.
It's so fascinating to, you can extrapolate people's personalities based on how they talk about certain aspects of certain games, and I love that.
Yeah, I know. We got a little academic. We got really in depth with a game that I didn't think we could talk about for 2 hours, but we somehow managed to do that, and it was a blast all the way through. We also got a lot of great feedback on that episode. We want to thank all of our friends who watched our individual streams of Underplayed games at twitch.tv/DiscoCola and twitch.tv/BO__PO. Sometimes we stream games that we're preparing to review on this show. And so it's great having you all along, cheering us on and sharing your thoughts about the games with us.
In addition to that, we want to thank all our friends who followed and listened to the Underplayed Twitch broadcasts of our new episodes. We premiere those new episodes on the Monday night before. And thank you to everyone that caught our co-op stream of Octodad Dadliest Catch.
We also want to thank everyone who listened to Underplayed episodes on podcast services, people who commented on the episodes, and thank you to everybody who shared the podcast with others, whether it's word of mouth, sending a link, etc. We really appreciate that all the way through.
And we want to thank KZUM for allowing us to be part of the Podcast Partners Program and giving us the space and equipment to produce our podcast. If you're listening to this on the day that it comes out in May of 2025, there's still a little bit of time to show your support to KZUM for having us before the big deadline of matching funds. We don't do any sponsored episodes. We won't do any sponsored episodes. We won't open up a Patreon. Any fiscal support you can show Underplayed would be in the form of donating to KZUM. So if you have the means, we'd really appreciate any donation you can give to KZUM, especially if it's before May 29th of 2025. That'd be great.
And finally, we have a very special thank you to give to a longtime friend. I'm going to struggle through this. I'm sorry. You might have to take the baton on this one for most of it, but
do you want to save it for the end of the episode and just cut it in later?
No, we'll share it now.
Okay,
we'll share it now. Longtime friend of ours named Alex Schumacher, who is one of the big reasons why we're sitting down talking into microphones right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share more about Alex? Because we've never mentioned Alex on this show.
Right. Yeah. It's a hard thing when you don't really think about the kind of impact people have on you until it's too late. And so you never really got to share it with them. We did lose Alex Schumacher in March of this year. He's someone we knew in high school and was a longtime friend. And back shortly after we had graduated high school, Bo came up with the idea. He was like, hey, what if we got a radio show at KZUM? And Alex had already had a show at KZUM, and he invited us in to sort of test pilot, essentially.
Yeah. And that was before some of the programs that exist now where new programmers can dip their toes in the water in sort of an official capacity. He was just sort of lending his time and lending his time slot to us.
Yeah. And so after that happened, eventually that became something that we decided we really wanted to pursue. And it really changed the both of us. Because of that, I ended up going back to college and pursuing broadcasting as a degree. I don't know how much of effect that had on your broadcast journey in college.
It all was happening at the same time. I was studying broadcast journalism and wanted to go into radio at first. Eventually did more video things, but because of Alex, I really had momentum, going into KZUM and wanting to explore this kind of thing that we're doing.
Right. And so because of that, Bopo and I had a radio show for 10 years. And from there, we went on to host other podcasts. And eventually we find ourselves here at Underplayed. And I can't say that all of those things wouldn't have happened anyway. I probably wouldn't have gone back to college, It
might not have appeared the same way. It might not have happened in the exact same fashion.
And I really do think that it's one of those, if you step on the butterfly at the right time in the past, everything's different.
Yeah.
Because I do think maybe some of these things would have happened. Some of these things wouldn't have happened just based on timing. So I feel confident in saying that we are here because of Alex. That's the first domino that led us here. And I've essentially told a version of this story 3 times at this point, and every time I think of something new, it's oh, Alex was like this, I wish I could have said that. And one of the things I thought of last week was that Alex is one of those guys that he would say I love you to the homies. You don't have a lot of men that are always comfortable saying that. There's a couple of people around here, but for a while there, Press Start to Listen was on after Alex's show. And so every week when I would come in and he was getting ready to leave, he would say, I love you. He was someone that said, I love you to the homies. So that's just another thing that I remembered about him this week. And I really wanted to share that. Alex was a really, really special person.
Yeah.
And
one thing I remember about Alex in high school was he was someone who defied groups and cliques, and he was a sharer. He shared joy with everybody. no matter what setting you found yourself in with Alex, whether it was a choir room or a classroom or backstage or just in the hallway at school, if there was something funny, he made sure that you were in on the joke. He just wanted to spread joy, share joy with everybody. And ever since knowing him, I've looked up to that example.
Mm-hmm.
So we send our love to everybody who knew Alex. I know a lot of people are still grieving about it, and we just wanted to honor his memory here. This is a very hard thing to move on from, but we're going to do our best, and we appreciate everybody's understanding. So before we move on, we just wanted to say that there are a couple of ways you can support Underplayed. You can give us a rating and a follow on podcast services like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It would only take a few seconds, and we'd really appreciate that. Following our show is a way to keep our show present in your feed if you want to make sure you don't miss new episodes. And also, if you have friends who like indie games and indie game reviews and discussions, we would appreciate spreading the news about our podcast too, if you're able. It's time for our Season 7 recap and reflection. So the first part of our Season 7 recap and reflection is reviewing all of our games that we talked about, from our secret games to our featured games. We're going to talk about our scores very briefly. The scores ultimately are just a quick representation of our thoughts on a game. They are far from everything, but this is our chance to state any regrets we might have about our scores. And we will talk about our secret games here. Do you want to just, in order, list all of the secret games you had for Season 7 and the ratings for each one?
Absolutely. In the first episode of this season, I reviewed Astronite. I gave that an 8. After that, I reviewed Lunark. I gave that a 5.5. In episode 69, I reviewed Owlboy, and I gave that an 8.5. Episode 70 was Chris Tales with 8.5. After that was Everything with 6.5. Episode 72 was Lil Guardsman with a 9.0. 73 was Hashtag Blood with an 8.5. Grand Soul Story was next with a 7.0. Episode 75 was Cogen, Sword of Rewind. I gave that a 7. And episode 76 was Ib and Ob with an 8.0.
Hell yeah. My secret games were in this order: Grun, I rated that a 10. Valley Peaks, I rated that a 9.5. Mini Shoot Adventures, which I gave an 8. Fruit Bus, which I gave an 8.5. What the Car, which I gave a 9. While Waiting, I gave that an 8. Mainframes, I also gave that an 8. Videoverse, I gave that a 9.5. The Room 3, I rated that an 8.5. And Miniatures, which I also rated an 8.5. This was one of my highest average ratings
no kidding.
for any season. My average rating was 8.75. Your average rating was 7.65. If you had to go back, or if you were allowed to go back, would you adjust any scores?
Yeah, I think so. I might bring Lil Guardsman down by maybe 0.5. When I think about going back for trophy cleanup, it's like, I really wish this game was like a one and done for me. I don't really want to go through it again. And then I'd probably bring Grand Soul Story down by a full point.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just not my kind of game. And then also, I went back to the game to try and work on it a little bit, and my save data is just gone.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Shoot.
It's just gone. And you tried to like do some tech support with me for like almost 45 minutes
on that.
Oh, that's
too bad. Dang.
So everything was just kind of gone. I was like, well, that's not a great sign.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. When I look at my list, I don't know that I would move too much. I would maybe bump up Mainframes to an 8.5. I might bring The Room 3 down to an 8, like little 0.5 adjustments, but I almost never have big adjustments here. So I feel good about all this.
Cool.
Yeah, really high scoring season for me.
Yeah.
Nothing below an 8 in my secret games, which is incredible. Now we're going to talk about our featured games really quickly. I'll just do all these. We had Inscription. DiscoCola rated it a 9.5. We both rated it a 9.5. There you go. Alignment there at the start of the season. Then there was Katana Zero. You rated it an 8.5. I rated it an 8. Then there was Fez. You rated it an 8. I rated it an 8.5. There's going to be a lot of like 8s and 8.5s. Then there was One Shot World Machine Edition. You gave that a 9. I gave that a 5. Then there was Untitled Goose Game. You rated that a 10. I gave it an 8.5. Papers, Please was next. You gave that a 9.5. I gave it a 9. Then we had Another Crab's Treasure. You rated that a 10. I rated that a 9.5. Her Story was next. You gave that a 7.5. I gave it an 8. Then we had Animal Well. You gave that an 8. I gave that a 10. Then we had Octodad Dadliest Catch, our co-op game for the season. You rated it a 7.5. I rated it an 8. We were closer on our average scores for the featured games. I had an average of 8.4. You had an average of 8.75, which was my average for my secret games.
Yeah. I gave out a lot of 10s.
Which is good. We love that. We love to see it.
We love a 10.
We love a 10.
If I look at my scores, I've already mentioned it this season. I would boost Inscription by 0.5.
You'd go up to a 10.
I'd go up to a 10.
Wow.
It's a great game, and Casey's mod really just made that difference for me.
I'm in love with Casey's mod.
I might boost Animal Well by 0.5 after having done the egg hunt.
Yeah, you liked that. You liked the bonus
egg
stuff.
Hunt.
You liked layer 2, as it were.
I like items and stuff. I like collecting stuff. That's my jam.
Hell yes.
But otherwise, I don't think I would change anything. I feel like I have to explain myself with the Untitled Goose Game 10, because normally when I replay games that don't have good replay value, that I take that into consideration.
Right.
But when we were doing the episode, I was just like, I don't have any fault in the game. I couldn't, other than the replay value itself, I had no faults for it. So I was just like, for me, it's a 10.
If I had to nitpick on some of these scores, I could maybe bump up One Shot a little bit. I was pretty harsh on that game. I still overall maybe disliked it a little bit more than I liked it, which is why I'm at a 5 for it. But I did go back and do the Solstice playthrough, which totally went over my head when I first played the game. I should have been a little bit more curious, but I was ready to just put the game down and I got credits. So I thought that was it. If I look at others, I might go down to a 7.5 with you on Her Story. That's a game where I don't know that I could ever replay it. I know what happened.
Yeah.
The magic of that game has happened, and now I know the trick, right? I know the act. I've seen it, so I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, I think that one in particular, even though it wasn't a wide discrepancy, it made a little bit more sense to me just because you're a bit more of a cinephile than I am. And so I think that's going to go a little bit further for people who love film and acting and that kind of stuff.
And I do think there's going to be something extra for you on a replay. You'll notice how they leave breadcrumbs. And I think there are breadcrumbs for different styles of learning and perception. Like every person's brain is going to perceive different things. And so retroactively knowing certain events that happen later, it's going to make some of those early pieces of information stand out in a new way. So I think that is special. I just don't, now that I know the story, I just don't know that I need to do that.
You'd have to watch someone else play it, I think.
Yeah, it would be
the magical
it would be
part.
super fun to sit on a couch and just watch someone play Her Story and just see how they react, or just watch a stream. You know, a lot of people were coming into my chat while I was streaming it, and they had played the game and they were just watching me. They knew what happened in the story. So really interesting experience. Other than that, I think I would just stay at all the other scores.
Yeah.
Anything else you would comment on?
I feel pretty good about where all our stuff is. Okay, so up next, it's the big one, our top 5 games that we played this season. Our rankings of our individual top 5 list of games we played for the season. They can be any combination of secret or featured games. All 5 can be secret, featured, or a mixture. The ranking is really emotional, especially for me. It's an emotional decision on how we feel this week when we're recording. Importantly, we are mostly disregarding our scores. If one of us feels a certain game is their number 1, but they originally scored it lower than their number 2 pick. We will not worry about that. So that's why we address all of those score regrets up top. We will share one game at a time, going back and forth, starting at number 5 and ending with number 1. For each top 5 game, we'll share a bit about it and what it accomplishes and why it beats out other games, and whether we've revisited or not, or how it has occupied our thoughts since playing. Do you want to start?
I would love to start. My number 5 game of season 7 is a game that didn't even get a 9 or higher from me, so I might be defying expectations here. My number 5 is Fruit Bus.
Ooh, okay.
Fruit Bus is a total joy. It is a game where your grandma tasks you with driving her fruit bus that she gives to you around an archipelago, and you find ingredients and you make food for people. And it is a vast open world. The driving feels really good. You do drive in the first person, which is a little disorienting sometimes, but I loved the process of discovery in this game. I loved the process of meeting people and helping people. You help all kinds of people with all kinds of problems. And along the way, you are buying cosmetics, you're buying new gear to cook things with. It is a game that I can just sit down and play and play and play. And this is a game where I just played for hours at a time. I did go back to this game and I played it during the Valentine's Day event, and that was so wholesome. And this is just a cozy, wholesome, warm hug of a game. At the end, I was overcome with such intense emotions because of what you see and what you do. And it's a game where I really encourage everybody to do as much as you can before reaching the end. It's just a game I can recommend to almost anybody.
Cool. Okay, that means it's my turn. My number 5 is Chris Tales.
Wow. Okay. My prediction list is already wrong.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but so is mine.
Sorry.
So, yeah, I didn't really expect to love this game, especially since the reviews are kind of mixed just overall.
Okay.
And it's a bit of a longer one, but I never really grew tired of the art style. And the voice acting was all done pretty well for the most part, and all the characters were mostly delightful. And it just was not something I expected to love, and I just love looking at it. So it's really that simple for me.
I would say that's a surprise for me. Like, I always looked at this game and I thought it just looked like a big jawbreaker that you would have to suck on if you wanted to play it, and I don't know how you would react to that over time.
Yeah,
Right?
and it is a little bit like that. You're not totally wrong. It is kind of a bit of a jawbreaker, but I enjoyed it. So what's your
Amazing.
number 4?
Amazing. My number 4 is another secret game that I had, and it is called Videoverse. This is a more recent one. This is a story-based game that takes place on digital devices and screens. So you're seeing this social media / video game landscape. It's the early days of the internet, and you are following this character named Emmett, a 15-year-old boy who is forming these online relationships. You explore so many friendships, so many themes of what it is to be online and to share empathy with people, or to criticize people. You can kind of choose how you respond to people in this game. But this is a game that made me feel so good, again, like Fruit Bus, because I was allowed to react to people's hardships in a way that showed empathy. It is a story that I couldn't really predict as far as where it would go. It has many characters that disappear and show back up, and who might defy your expectations. I think it's full of surprises in all of the story arcs and in all of the character developments. I really recommend it to anybody who likes visual novels or just stories in games in general. It's an excellent coming-of-age tale, and that's why it's my number 4.
Perfect. My number 4 is #Blood.
Let's go.
For a lot of the same reasons as Chris Tales. I love the audio design on the voices. I think the animation is just top tier. I just think it's enjoyable for the most part. yeah, I loved looking at #blood and playing it and, looking at all of the great little monster animations. It was just cool.
One of those games that's super fun to watch. I just had a blast watching you and other people stream this. So glad it made your list. My number 3 of season 7 is Another Crab's Treasure.
Mhm.
Another one that I could just play for hours on end anytime I sat down to play it. It's got everything. It's got amazing art. It's got a really timely story, I think, for our world and even for our world for the past 10 or 20 years. It's got a beautifully simple idea at its core for its story, but it's also goofy. It's got tons of puns that make me laugh. It's got a great soundtrack. It's got an open world that is full of secrets that I love finding. It's got upgrades upon upgrades upon upgrades. It has some of the coolest boss fights we've fought for any game in this show. I could just keep gushing about it. I think it is just an example of a game that has quantity and quality all the way through that quantity. That's why it's in my list.
That's a great way to put it. My number 3 is Papers, Please.
Ooh.
This was a game that I might have been the one that picked it in the last season finale. I don't remember for sure.
Mhm.
But it's something that felt more like an obligation than anything. And I wasn't totally sure how I was going to feel about it, especially because I don't totally love playing games on my computer and that there was like non-optional there. So I didn't really know how it was going to go, but I found myself getting in the flow and I loved having, I had the option to defy the rules or I could follow the rules. I got to reveal who I was with the way I played Papers, Please. And I think I talked about that in that episode. And I also I'm thinking of Grand Soul Story.
Oh, sure.
Where it's like there's choices that maybe don't make a difference and you reveal to yourself who you are when you're making those choices. Kind of the same thing in Papers, Please. At a certain point, you have to like also still beat the game for the podcast. So
right.
you ignore some of who you are at times.
But you can easily go back and select new choices through the timeline feature, which is such a good idea for this game. It is a game that surprises you with choice after choice. You don't know. You're not prepared for the choices you will be asked to make. And some choices will make you reconsider previous choices or future choices.
Yeah.
I mean, you start using what you've done as a rubric for future choices in some cases. Mm-hmm. But then other times there's something so emotionally compelling that you just throw all rules out the window and you have to go with your gut. It is a powerful game.
Yeah. And that sound that I love it.
Love it. We love the sound. Great sound effects in that game. Holy crap. It's so good. My number 2 of season 7 is Grun.
What? No way.
Grun is a game where anybody can sit down and play it, and they will play it different than me, and they will play it different than you. Everybody has a different journey of discovery in Grun, and I think that's what makes it so fascinating to talk about. This is a game where you're walking around this mysterious, otherworldly garden that expands into so many side areas, and you're finding things. You're finding what objects are keys for other items that are locks. Sometimes it's very straightforward. Other times you have to stretch your mind a bit to imagine what the logic is. But it's a really great balance of that. And this is another game with discovery upon discovery. And it's the kind of game that I loved just talking to people about to understand their journeys. It is a horror game in some ways. It does jump scare you, but it's one of those games where I do recommend it to even some of the people who say they're not horror fans because it's not outright horrific constantly. I think it strikes another great balance there. I still think about the routes that I took to get all the different items, all the notes I took, how I obsessed over the demo last year when it had a slightly different build and not as many areas. And then the game came out in full at the end of October, I believe, and things were different from the demo, and that was exciting to me. It's like I'm stepping into a brand new experience. Some things are familiar, but I get to just play around in this world of locks and keys. Yeah, I think it's a magical game. I wish there were more games like it. This is like the game in my list where I can easily say, God, I wish there were 100 Grun likes out there. Maybe there are,
Maybe there
but
will be
I'd
soon.
want to play them.
Yeah. Well, no shocker there, and I will admit that I was feeling kind of left out when I would see you talk with other people about Grun. My number 2, shocking no one, I'm sure, is another Crab's Treasure.
Nice.
I gave out a few 10s this season, and shocking no one, another Crab's Treasure showed up on this list. Like you said, there's upgrades upon upgrades. You can do all these different cool builds. I love just like the imagination that goes into how all of these human world objects translate to armor or buildings or other types of concepts for traversal. It's just such a creative game, and the personality of Aggro Crab
shines.
is
shines.
just it's perfect, and I love pretty much everything that they do. I've been playing Going Under this week, and so I'm experiencing a little bit of that too. And then like references to Going Under in Another Crab's Treasure and references to other stuff. It's just so great. I listened to our episode a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh yeah, the Subway Midnight girl is in one of the costumes. It's because Aggro Crab was the publisher. So I'm just
amazing.
following up on that.
Yeah, okay, that was confusing to us, but that makes sense.
Yeah. I remember that we had mentioned that when we reviewed Subway Midnight, but that was a long time ago now. Anyways, yeah, Another Crab's Treasure was great. It was great fun. The combat, the controls, just all of it, so enjoyable. And I've gone in and I've played some of the DLC now too. Not too much, but I love what they added. And what they added was stuff that we kind of requested before we even knew that it was coming. So
right. They listened.
They did.
No, really. Amazing. I love that that's your number 2. It's time for our number 1s of the season. I think these will not be surprises. I think I know what yours is.
I know what yours is.
Yeah. Mine is easily Animal Well. Animal Well is my favorite, is my top game of season 7. Animal Well is the kind of game where I could play it 20 times, and each time I will probably find something new. It is different than Grun in that it is so much larger, and it feels like every single moment holds something special, even if you don't realize it at first. Every single screen in this Metroidvania has something noteworthy. It has a clue. It has something to be unlocked, something mysterious that you want to figure out. And it is a game of intrigue, of mystery, of insidiousness even. It's got a very disciplined sound design because it's not constantly blasting you with music cues. But when music does hit, it really sends shivers down my spine because of how surprising it can be or how much it can just accentuate what's going on. I cannot believe this game was made by one person. It is awe-inspiring to me on a meta level beyond the game. When I look up things about Animal Well, I always learn more about the creative process of making games. And I am inspired by the imagination of Billy Basso. I want to replay it maybe next year, maybe every year. I'm obsessed with it. I'm a super fan of Animal Well. I'm not going to be one of those people who speedruns it and finds the 4th layer of the game. I've looked that stuff up online already. I'm not willing to sacrifice my soul for that. But I'm nonetheless just so in awe of it. It is my favorite game of the season, and it's also my favorite game of 2024, and it's probably my favorite Metroidvania of all time, next to Hollow Knight.
Okay. I watched a clip recently. I want to say it was the BAFTA Awards where Balatro won like the top prize, the game of the year or whatever.
Sure.
And then in their acceptance speech, the guy that was dressed as the clown from the commercial,
right,
he went up and he like made a very strong point to say, and you should all keep supporting independent games like Animal Well.
Yeah.
And to me, that translated to, I recognize that I, Balatro, have this wide appeal because we're a card game and we're addictive, and we understand that more people love us. But Animal Well probably really deserved this. And to me, that's what he was saying in that moment.
Right.
So
yeah. I really respect it for the new things it does. In a lot of Metroidvanias, we're shooting and we're slashing. We're fighting things. This is a game where you play as a little blob.
You're a guy, just a
You're
little guy.
a little guy, and you are encountering enemies, but you're outsmarting them. You're not fighting them, you're outsmarting them. You're given this toolbox of toys, and the question is, how do you use this odd assortment of toys to outsmart this place?
Yeah, you only outright destroy just like a small handful of encounters and creatures.
Yeah, and even though you are outsmarting things, it's this constant feeling of vulnerability. You feel like you're never quite safe because you can never like truly kill anything you want. You have to use your wits and your intuition. It celebrates your creativity with how you use the tools, and you can use the tools in so many fun ways. That leads you on a path to discovery as well. So yeah. I've talked enough about Animal Well. What's your number one?
My number one's Inscription.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I really loved that game. I had been looking forward to it for a long time, and usually that ends up biting me in the ass. But I ended up loving it. As soon as you get your first bifurcated strike, you're like, oh yeah, that's the sweet sauce, baby. We're eating now. And I loved the personality of it, the card game, the escape room, all the different animals and bugs that you wouldn't expect to be in the same card game. And then it evolves from there. And then you get Casey's Mod, and Casey's Mod is just like a streamed down, disciplined version of the card game.
It's its own game.
Yeah, and it's a delight. I spent so many hours on it, more than double like what I had when we did the recording.
Wow.
I kept playing
Holy crap.
I loved Inscription. It's just so fun. I think that card game at the heart of it is just so enjoyable. And I'm going to play through it a bunch of times. And I'm going to keep playing Casey's Mod if I have like 45 minutes, which is not enough time to do basically anything else. So
it's part of your DNA now.
It is. Yeah.
From now and forever onward. Yeah.
So Inscription was my favorite game that I played this season.
I love that. I love that for you. It almost made my list. I wrestled with putting it in my list, but I really wanted to spotlight a few of the smaller indies.
I knew it wouldn't be in your list.
You knew.
I did.
And I rated it a 9.5. I loved it. Maybe my number 6, I just wanted to highlight Fruit Bus and Videoverse and some other ones. So let's recap those lists one more time. Give us your top 5 again.
Okay, from 5 going to 1, my number 5 is Chris Tales, and then #Blood, and then Papers, Please, and then Another Crab's Treasure, and my number 1 was Inscription.
And my top 5 were starting with 5, Fruit Bus, number 4, Videoverse, number 3, Another Crab's Treasure, number 2, Grun, number 1, Animal Well. We also do this fun thing where we we predict each other's top 5s, and we never get it completely right. But what were your predictions, and how did you fare?
My predictions were Valley Peaks for number 5.
That was a very good guess. That was a very good guess.
Yeah.
I also wrestled with putting that in my list. That was in my list for most of the season, right? Yeah.
I put 4 for Another Crab's Treasure, 3 at Videoverse, 2 Grun, and 1 Animal Well.
You did super well. You had 4 of my picks. 2 of them were swapped, and then your number 5 was wrong.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Thanks. Yeah.
Very close. I feel like this is my first season in a while where I didn't do as well. I guessed for you number 5, Papers, Please. It was actually your number 3. I guessed number 4 would be Little Guardsman. It wasn't in your list. Number 3 I had for Untitled Goose Game. It wasn't in your list. And I think I know why. I think it's because you've given that game a ton of praise. You've given it the spotlight, and now you're kind of it's like, gotten the award already.
Yeah, that, and it's just like because of that replay value thing. It was like I didn't feel the magic of it this season that I felt the first 2 times I played it.
If you had played it the first time this season, it probably would
have been on my list.
That's fair. And then for your number 2, I predicted Inscription. For your number 1, I predicted Another Crab's Treasure. I just flip-flopped those. I had a version of this where Inscription was the number 1, and I don't know why I I selected Another Crab's Treasure to be
I mean,
the winner.
Another Crab's Treasure was the one that had a 10 on the list.
Right.
So
yeah, I
it
guess
was
so.
a good guess.
Yeah. So I did okay. I guess
Yeah.
I had 3. Very good predictions, very good lists. Always love that section. Next, we're going to do another fun section where we talk about our jealous games. This is where we're focusing on our secret games. I look at Disco's list of secret games. He looks at mine, and we pick a secret game that we reviewed this past season. The other person played and reviewed that we wish we had picked and played, or that we want to play very soon if possible. So, DiscoCola, what is your jealous game for season 7?
Yeah, that's a hard one because I actually want to play most of your secret games.
All of them.
Pretty much, there's like 3
So,
or 4 that I'd be like,
Your jealous game is everything.
Pretty much. I mean, that's happened like one other time. There was a season where you had like, I want to play everything. And then we had one season where it's like, I don't really want to play any of those, so I'll just pick one, I guess.
Yeah.
But for most of the season, it was Mini Shoot Adventures.
Yeah.
You
called that.
Yeah.
When we talked about it.
But my official pick, it's got to be What the Car, because it's kind of weird that I haven't played it yet.
It's part of your personality now. It's part of like what your kids do for their birthday parties.
Every single, not every single day, but like for a week or 2 at a time, intermittently, we will watch What the Car playthroughs every single day in our house. I just haven't actually physically played it. I know every level. I just haven't played it.
That's wild. Yeah, you'll have a ton of fun with it. If you ever want to come over and play it, you can. It might come to consoles at some point.
I'm not necessarily holding out for that, but if it did, I would be delighted and I would buy it right away.
Run like a car, Dad. Sorry, that was 2 references mixed up. Okay, my jealous game. This was hard. You had some games.
Was it really?
A little bit. I mean, you had. Let's see. Let me. I'm scrolling back to your list. You had Little Guardsman, #Blood. You had one other in there.
I kind of figured it was just going to be those 2, to be honest.
I guess so. Those were like seemingly the front runners, but I'm going to surprise you here. Actually, looking at your list and thinking about all the games that you played and talked about, my jealous game is everything.
What?
It is.
Are you joking, my ass?
I started to type in the wrong field there. Sorry. Yeah. So. And really what this comes down to is the philosophy of the game, the style of the game, the presentation of the game is so bizarre. And I'm drawn to that.
Okay.
I just feel drawn to it. I want to give it a shot.
This is like my Dujana pick.
Right. And you may have mentioned at some point that I might click with it a tad bit more than you. Or maybe I'm conflating that with another.
I don't remember saying that, actually.
Okay, never mind. We'll see if that's true. But I do want to. I want to give it a shot because, God, it looks weird, and I want to play something weird. I love a weird game.
With your Twitch audience, it might be a good one to stream.
That's what I was planning to do, but I was going to ask for your thoughts first. So you think
I think you would enjoy it more if you streamed it.
Okay.
Personally,
there you go.
There is a certain point you get to where it's like less bizarre and more like heavy.
Okay.
As heavy as that game can get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my recommendation to you.
All that said, I do want to play #Blood and Little Guardsman. I also want to play those games, but I'm swerving here. and picking everything.
You swerved like a car. Swerved like a pony.
Swerved like a pony, Dad. Amazing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, those are jealous games, and I will write those down in another list that I've been keeping. I've been tracking whether or not we play each other's jealous games.
Yes, I've played most of mine.
I've started doing that recently. I'm behind, and I almost picked up Carto recently.
Oh my gosh, Carto is amazing.
So I might still do that before I start working on Season 8 stuff.
Cool.
Anyways, the next one, underrated games. Games they don't get is another way we can say that. Having an entry here is optional. And the way this topic is interpreted can be subjective. Each of us may mention one game, secret or featured, that is something along the lines of being misunderstood by others, whose opinions we've heard or read about, having critic reviews, scores that we feel are too harsh, or being quite literally underplayed and not enjoyed by enough people. What is your entry here?
I do have an entry this season for underrated game, and My underrated game is Mainframes. This one just seems like one that's going way too under the radar. Not enough people are playing it. Not enough people are talking about it. I think it's going to be one of 2025's best 2D platformers. It is so creative with how it uses a desktop and Windows as ideas for platforms. You play as a floppy disk on a computer screen. Every single chapter plays with new ideas, and even within a chapter, an idea will be introduced and then not overused, thankfully. You're always being pushed to learn something new. Sometimes that leads to confusion because you're not exactly sure what you're supposed to be doing, but the quantity of ideas here is super impressive, and I love the pixel art. I love the music. God, please make the music available online to stream. It's just a great package. I want more platformers like it. If you're a fan of Celeste, I think you'll really like Mainframes.
Cool. My entry here, and it was a little bit hard for me to figure one out, but I picked #Blood.
Nice.
I think this game's quality is more than worthy of eventually being a featured game type of game. I just think it literally hasn't been played enough. And this is something I wanted to talk about all season. I think part of it might be that the price is a little high. So I kind of want to go on a tangent here about just like, I think we're in an era where the standard prices have shifted by like a full, margin now. Like games that used to be $14.99 are probably going to now be like $19.99.
I see a lot of $24.99 and $29.99 games.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is valid, but
yeah. And I think that, like I said, this game is high quality, but I think if this game would have come out maybe just 3 or 4 years ago, it would have been a $17.99 kind of game. And it's not that. So
yeah.
I think that's just where we are now. The prices jumped for everything, and certain games are becoming inaccessible for me. That's why it took me so long to play #Blood. I wanted to play it for a while.
Yeah.
Another thing that people have said online about #Blood is that the combat's kind of stiff, and I don't totally disagree with that, but I also kind of see it as like a game where you're allowed to be just a little bit mindless and just tap square a bunch of times. And I think that's a perfectly fine thing for a game to be, because really I'm there for the visual identity of the game and to just see some cool animations and all that. So anyways, like I've said in that episode, if you get like Markiplier to play this, or if you get the Game Grumps to play this, I think it'll take off quite a bit. I think #Blood is a really high quality game.
Yeah, it looks excellent. It looks like just every artistic aspect of it is so carefully constructed and cared for. Again, I just want to play it someday. All right, it is time for our overrated games. This is sort of the inverse of the previous category. This is games we don't get, if you will. This is also optional as far as whether we have an entry here. I do have an entry here. Do you?
I actually don't. I think most of the games that we played this season are pretty much rated just right,
okay.
At least on that end of the spectrum.
Then I will step on the quickest of soapboxes.
I'm pretty sure I know what yours is.
Yeah, let me quickly explain though. So we can interpret this topic however we want. It's incredibly subjective, but we can mention a game, secret or featured from the season, that is something along the lines of being overpraised by others, having critic review scores we feel are too generous, or maybe we just feel that they're seemingly overenjoyed by a lot of people. And I think my overrated game matches all of those descriptions for me. For me, it is One Shot World Machine Edition.
I know.
I know I feel bad about it. I'm not going to talk about this too long because I've already talked about it enough, but it's trying to be very emotional with its themes. And I think a lot of people come away from this game feeling like it's one of their favorite indie games of all time. And I just don't understand it. I could not emotionally connect with this game. For me, it became about the puzzles and the adventure. And some of the characters really stood out to me, for sure. I loved reading the character bios. I liked some of the conversations. But when a lot of it boiled down to the exploration and the puzzle solving, it became combining items and then just looking for where to go next. And the world, some of the dialogue just wasn't that great to me. and didn't speak to me. But I totally understand with the themes of the story and how it takes time to get there. I get how those could hit for people. Maybe I just played this game at the wrong time in my life. So that's why it's my overrated game.
Yeah.
I hope that's fair. I hope that sounds at least fair.
I knew it, at the very least, I knew that that's what your pick was going to be.
I still recommend it to people. It's just not a Bopo game necessarily. And I wish it was. I want every game to be a DiscoCola game and a Bopo game.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just how it be sometimes.
Okay, up next, the biggest surprises. We can choose up to 5. The way this topic is interpreted can be incredibly subjective. So picking from all the games we played, these are qualities or moments from them that were unexpected, and they can be positive, neutral, or negative. Do you want to start?
I can start. And the way I like to do these list of 5s is I like to pick things chronologically in terms of when we played the games. No pressure for you to do that, but it just helps me stay organized. So these are not ranked other than just being chronological with playtime. My first surprise is the end sequence of Grun. This is something I actually didn't talk a lot about when I reviewed it. The end of Grun involves a series of steps that you take. You need to figure out how to build the mousetrap so that you can get into this place, I'll say, and encounter something, and then encounter another thing. But before encountering that other thing, you're doing a lot of other things, and it's timed. And it is this roller coaster ride of surprise after surprise. Really what this is it's a surprise because it's a bunch of surprises sequentially. And that's really all I can say. I really want people who are interested in Grun to just play it. I don't want to say any more.
Yeah, I think I caught a lot of what you're talking about when you did the pre-order bonus episode.
Okay,
I think I have some idea of what you're referring to.
Yes, we did have a whole section on that. We had a spoiler section. Absolutely. We did go in depth on this.
My first pick here is Ibn Ob being so difficult.
Yeah.
I had no inclination that was going to happen.
I'm sorry. I didn't tell you.
It got so nuts. There are like 4 sections just seared into my brain. And I'm never going to forget them because they're like nightmares. But still a delightful game overall. Beautiful to look at all times. But yeah. Good God.
When the Switch trailer for your game has a significant runtime where the players in the trailer are confused and lost, that's how you know your game is confusing.
Yes.
Yeah. And hard. My second surprise of the season comes from Inscription. And I want to warn people that this is a spoiler about something incredibly surprising that happens. So if you haven't played Inscription and you want to go in unsullied, skip ahead like 30 seconds, and I'll give you time to do this. Okay, I'm going to say it now. My second surprise is friends being turned into cards during the Golly fight in Inscription.
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap. I could pick so many moments from this game, but when my friends list was evaluated and scanned and some of my friends were then copied onto cards, it took me a second to realize it because some of the people that I didn't know as well showed up first, and then it's like some of my besties from high school. I'm like, what is happening? Just chills from that moment. So I'll stop there because that's probably about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I got a little nervous at that point. I'm like, oh no, my name's going to show up.
I'm going to be doxxed. And it didn't. It was fine.
My next surprise is the QuickTime event in #Blood.
Oh.
There are a lot of cutscenes in #Blood. You know, it's a cartoon game, essentially. So to have a QuickTime event in a cartoon, essentially, is like odd and complicated to think about, but they pulled it off, and it was a huge surprise when I was just like, cool, cutscene time. I'll put down my controller, and it's like,
oh no,
nope, no, you won't.
You're playing a heckin' video game still.
Yep,
my guy.
So that was pretty cool.
My third surprise of the season is something I did not even mention in the review of Valley Peaks, but my third surprise is the second half of Valley Peaks.
Okay.
The second half of Valley Peaks does something that you do not see coming. You fundamentally go to a different place, but not really. But it's just different. Things are different.
Do you go to hell?
I can't say. Cannot say. You
This
don't,
isn't Grun.
you don't do chained together in this game. You're not trying to escape the devil. But I will say that. But this game finds a way to reinvent itself in the second half, like the entire second half of this game, DiscoCola. And I think it is phenomenal in a way that is just really innovative and experimental and imaginative and fits along with the story in a really neat way. It just changes what you do, but you're still doing fundamentally the thing of climbing. And yeah, I'll just stop there. So what's your next one?
My next one, I didn't talk about this in the episode because it is kind of a spoiler, but also not really. In Lil Guardsman, there's a character that we meet, and at some point, they die in the game.
Oh.
And in Lil Guardsman, I'm expecting some deaths. Like, that's not a surprise to me. But this character just sort of, like, dies, and they die off screen, and it's just like, I'm sorry, what? That person died? I really wanted to see more from them. So that was kind of a surprise that it was just, like, such a casual, like...
It sounds like an anticlimactic reveal, just like, oh yeah, this happened.
Well, yeah, I guess anticlimactic, but also just like kind of makes it heavier because this just thing can happen to people that you expect to be safe.
No one
in
is
this
safe.
Kind of story.
No one is safe necessarily. Interesting. Wow. Okay, you're kind of making me want to play that even more. My fourth surprise was how While Waiting had so many poignant moments. The poignant moments in While Waiting will sometimes follow very goofy or silly moments. This is a game where you're playing the story of someone's life through the times that they wait for things. And it's things like waiting for the bus. And you might get splashed by a puddle with someone driving by and it's raining.
I hate that.
You might be waiting for class to end and the teacher's just, speaking nonsense. You don't even understand what the teacher's saying. Or you're waiting for Santa to arrive. You're a kid. But this game takes you from your birth to your death. And in life, we have lots of big moments that can blindside us. This game understands that, and it finds a way to balance the silly, goofy moments with the serious moments too. And I never had a complaint about that because of how thoughtfully it followed up with something surprising happening, something sad, emotional, devastating would happen. And then we would spend a moment waiting in relation to that. And I thought that was really powerful. So this is an example of a surprise that I thought was emotionally impactful and also just surprising several times throughout the game.
Mm-hmm. I do really want to play that game at some point.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite games of 2025. That's another one that not enough people are talking about, I feel.
Right.
Yeah.
My next one is a lot of the revelations in Her Story. That feels like an easy pick.
I have at the bottom of my list, so I have a secret sixth one. It's just an asterisk, and it's just
Her Story.
All of Her Story.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not going to be in my list.
No, I think that's totally valid. But yeah, it's just like the whole game. It's just like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? You did what with what?
Exactly.
So
I'll never look at certain objects the same way. I could, yeah.
So yeah, is really that simple. It's a mystery story, and you get revelations in piecemeal at different points in the chronology. So it is no surprise that there are surprises in that game.
Absolutely. It's the game of surprises from the season. It feels like every season might need to have a game that's just full of surprises. And I think like we had Her Story and we had Inscription. There might have been another one that was just chock full of them. My last surprise of the season was how approachable co-op ended up being in Octodad Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
I picked this game for our co-op game. I was enthusiastic about trying this awkward controls game, but at the same time, I was thinking, crap, I don't want to have to struggle with this.
Yeah.
Are we going to have to stream this like 2 or 3 times? We beat it in one sitting. And I think this is an example of a co-op game where co-op makes it easier because you don't have to control as many limbs. And once you play a few levels, you get into the groove and you understand what your partner does. I was understanding how you were moving your leg. And when I saw you moving your leg, I knew, oh, it's time for us to walk now. And we weren't saying like, okay, let's walk. You were just walking and I'm walking. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's a really special thing to achieve with a co-op partner in a game, is just your minds become one. And I think that made the game like really approachable, more approachable than other awkward controls games like I Am Bread or Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Yeah. Bonus one that's not on my list for Octodad is I didn't expect it to be quite as short as it was. I thought we were gonna not only struggle, but I thought that the game was gonna be like
the size of Bugsnax.
Not quite that big, but like at least a third longer.
Yeah.
But it was pretty short,
pretty manageable. Yeah. We were done in like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah. I had time to play something else afterward.
I know.
Yeah.
I went to bed early. Very fun times. I loved playing that with you.
My last surprise is like basically all of Inscription.
Yep.
There's several moments. There's even moments in Casey's mod, like a secret boss or like things that happen in the card game rules. So yeah, basically just like a majority of Inscription's moments being very surprising. Because we both managed to avoid like pretty much anything about the game except for like what it looks like.
Right. Yeah. And I only knew what some of the game looked like.
Yeah.
You know, like every act kind of does different things. And yeah, I'm so proud of us for avoiding spoilers for years. On that.
Yeah, incredible. How did we do that?
Well, I think we talked about this in the episode. I think the fan base for the game, which is massive, tons of people love Inscription. I think everybody has this shared understanding that the game is special. And so everybody always talks about how much they love it without talking about why they love it. And I love that that is just an agreed upon thing between everybody.
Late thank you to Drake for really pushing for it and also not revealing anything about the game.
Yeah, thank you, Drake. Amazing. It's time for our favorite moments from the season. This is where we choose up to 5. We select from all the games we played, and we list some gaming moments that were our favorites. DiscoCola, do you have 5 favorite moments? I have 5.
You know, I actually struggled. I had to cut some out. So, yes. To answer your question,
you struggled with picking 5. I gotcha. I thought you meant struggling to pick up to 5. Okay, so you have 5, I have 5. What's your first favorite moment from the season?
So you list these in chronology. These ones for me are kind of, for the most part, in like ranked, not exactly.
Okay.
But my first one is the conversation between Azio and Otis at the end of Owlboy.
Yeah.
Owlboy was like overall a game that was like, all right, that was pretty fine. That was pretty okay. But this moment at the end of the game was just really emotionally affecting for me in a game that I didn't necessarily know would go that far in the emotional aspect. So I really loved that conversation.
Amazing. My first favorite moment was when I finally beat Act 1 of Inscription. I think this is one of the big hurdles in the game. If you can beat Act 1, I think you have a pretty smooth sail to the end.
Yeah, Act 2 was really fast for me. And Act 3 is a lot more forgiving than Act 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing that held me up in Act 1 is that you're fighting this character named Leshy, who takes on all of these personas, which makes for really interesting dynamic fights. You don't really know what the mechanics of each persona is going to be until you face them. And then you do this learning moment. And you really have to grind at it to build the run, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You're selecting a run on a map. It's very much like Slay the Spire, if you will. You're picking your path. You're strategizing. And I got to the end a few times. I was streaming this, and I just could not get it. And then I just decided before I stream this again, I'm going to have to beat Act 1 just sweatily on my own in my living room, just like with my PlayStation Portal, grinding it out. And I played it for like 4 hours until I finally beat Leshy with a really cool build that I still think about. So that's why it's my first favorite moment.
You know, apart from Casey's mod, I went back to play through the game again recently.
Yeah, amazing.
And I was just like, I'm hardened, baby. I'm just going to go through Act 1 on the first try.
Yeah?
Leshy basically doesn't let you. Like if you do too well,
Oh,
he's like too far, too fast, and he fills his side of the board
really?
with flying grizzlies.
Oh my gosh. So then how soon were you able to do it?
I don't remember. I don't remember if I've done it yet because
Okay.
I think I played through it like 2 more times after that, and then I had to move on to something else
Oh,
for
wow.
Underplayed. But I was like, oh, dope! You can't beat it too fast.
Yeah, it makes it hard to speed run. I guess because there are steps to unlocking things in the room. And so
Right.
they want to encourage that so that I think that's less of a protection against someone who's good at the game like you and more of a protection against someone who has really good luck
Yeah.
on their first playthrough. Like you're not going to be able to beat Act 1 because we want you to walk around this place
We
too.
want you to do the escape room, and you
Yeah.
don't have access to all of the escape room elements on your first
Right.
run through.
Yeah, it takes several steps to get there.
So, anyways, I'm glad you put that in your list because I wanted to share about that.
Sweet. I love that you did.
Okay, my next one is delivering a picture to a serial killer in Papers, Please.
Oh my gosh.
There are like multiple different moments you can have with that serial killer,
Mm-hmm.
and I save scummed to experience all of them. And my favorite one was easily handing this picture to that serial killer and what follows.
Yeah, it's a highly emotional moment. It's surprising for them. That's a surprise of theirs. That was I think I did the same thing that you did, and yeah, it's something unimaginable, isn't it?
Yeah, there's several moments that I save scummed and that were pretty cool, but that one is easily my favorite.
My second favorite moment is playing as 15, aka the dragon in Katana Zero. Do you remember this part?
Yes, it's like you get to be Zero in a Mega Man game for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to basically step into the shoes of a super overpowered character. This is a different character than Zero, who you've been playing this whole time. And Zero's been having this chaotic trip of a time. You don't know what's real and what's not at a certain point in Katana Zero. But when we take about, I feel like it is like 15 minutes to play as 15, funnily enough.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a kinetic, overpowered time of just destroying dudes, and you just feel so good doing that. And we talked about this with No Alone when we reviewed it. That moment is super memorable, but it doesn't go on so long that it loses its luster. I think because it's only like 10 or 15 minutes, it becomes more special in my mind. Like I got to do that for just a brief moment, and I'm going to hold on to that because I didn't get tired of it.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
makes
why
a
it's
lot of
in my
sense.
list. Yeah.
One of my follow-up favorite moments was that boss that I mentioned in that recording that also has the reverse time thing.
Oh,
and
so
just like
cool.
defeating that boss finally. That was a pretty cool moment. I didn't ultimately have to cut it. Because my next one is just like kind of like with the inscription in the last section, just like several interactions in another Crab's Treasure.
Mm-hmm.
I like talking sense into Topoda after defeating him. I like defeating the final boss, and then what happens to the final boss right before the end of the game. And I like the fight and victory over Hykia. There's just so many moments in another Crab's Treasure that are just like awesome, that are hilarious, that are cool. Yeah, just another Crab's Treasure, essentially.
Yeah, too many to pick just one. My third favorite moment from the season is the ending of Fruit Bus. The ending of Fruit Bus is so emotional. I wept at the end of this game. Our friend Cecily, who also has played Fruit Bus, said this, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. She said something along the lines of, "It is unfair how much you know will happen at the end of Fruit Bus, how much you can anticipate will happen, and yet how much you how much it gets you."
Yeah.
And the more you do in this game, the more the end of the game is filled with a certain layer of remembrance for your grandma. You know that this game is leading to this memorial service. And you get there and it's like, oh, it's not going to get me. And then it gets you. Just the way they do it is so good. It makes all of the journey worth it. Even if you get a little tired of doing all the side quests, there's so many optional things you can do in this game. And you can maybe get a little worn out from doing them all. But I urge you to do all the optional things, listener, if you play
Pays off.
Fruit Bus. It does.
Cool. My next one is It's more because it stands out visually in my mind. It's the ostrich chase in Animal Well.
Oh, nice.
I don't really have too much more to add to it because that part of the map I actually kind of hate most of it.
Yeah, this is the southeast part.
Yeah, there's a lot of like one-way directional kind of stuff.
Yeah, you have to do a lot of switches and you kind of forget where the switches are sometimes.
But the ostrich chase is super cool. It's as far as quote unquote boss fights go, it's my favorite one.
Wow. Yeah, it's really memorable. I love the head going into the hole and chasing you, and then also just the whole ostrich chasing you. And then what you do, that's another instance of the sound design really kicking in and just making you it's giving me goosebumps right now. Look at that.
How does that happen to you all the time?
Wow. It's something I have. It's a quality I have. I don't know what the scientific name for it is, but just thinking back, it gives me goosebumps. My fourth favorite moment is another end of a game. This is the end sequence and final moment of Untitled Goose Game.
Oh, yeah.
I remember vividly when I first played this game, not just for this season, but a couple years ago when I played this, I think it was during lockdown for the pandemic. I played Untitled Goose Game, and I think I was messaging you about it because I knew you had played it. And you carry a certain object through the town, you revisit the whole town, it's different now, and you bring this object to a place. And I love what our guest, Oscar, said about this moment. It wordlessly projects in your mind, forward and back, what this goose has done. You understand what you've just done now, and you understand what the goose will probably do dozens of more times. And the way that moment is communicated so efficiently is another awe-inspiring moment to me. My jaw drops. I go, oh my gosh, whoa. Like I thought I understood everything about this goose. And then I understood more. Mm-hmm. And retroactively, it makes all of the no goose signs make sense. God, it's so good. And then the way the credits scroll, it's just so confident and so simple. What's your next favorite moment?
My last one is our final moment with PO3 in Inscription.
Nice.
You just see, we'll say, a pair of an object coming from the background. And it's so cool. And just such a great way to end the game. I'm going to talk about PO3 again later in this episode, so I'll get more into it. But it feels like a great final moment to have with this character.
It does. Agree wholeheartedly there. My last favorite moment is when I beat Petroke the False Moon on the first try in Another Crab's Treasure.
That was impressive. I mean, you were just like, yeah, I beat it first try. And I'm like, that's actually one of the only bosses in the last half of the game that I kind of like struggled with.
And I think why I was able to beat it is because I was streaming at this time and I was trying to get to a good stopping point. And I was at the 5.5, 6 hour streaming mark. I'm getting tired.
That was a long stream. I was there for most of that one.
Yeah, and I'm in the Unfathom, which is a mysterious, dark, scary place. You don't really know when you're going to get a checkpoint again. Right. You could save and just quit the game whenever, but I want to really just plant a flag in the ground after defeating a boss or something.
Plus, I don't really like traveling the Unfathom, so to go to the previous checkpoint would be really annoying.
We're not going to do that. So ultimately, in the long run, this is going to help us, right? So I get toward the moon snail shell that it is hiding in. The moon snail shell is the thing that you can kind of save at. It's where you can teleport from. It's a save point, right? But I had this feeling, and it had been a while since I had fought a boss, and I was like, this is a trick, isn't it?
Yeah, you said that too, and I was like, how do you know?
There's something about this I don't like. And then it was something I don't like. It was a guy who wanted to kill me. And I think by that point, I had leveled up a ton, right? I had leveled up my resistance. I had leveled up my health, mostly defense. Oh, I guess I also had a lot of offense at that point. So I was primed and ready, and I took my time. I really woke up at that moment. I had the adrenaline pumping. So it was just really satisfying to beat a late game boss on the first try.
Yeah. I've noticed when you were doing that fight specifically that you're just much more patient in the fight itself. Whereas I'm just like, I want to win. I want to be done.
That's something I've picked up from playing Bloodborne, I feel, and also Demon's Souls. If I had not played those games, I might be a little bit more impatient in that moment. But that's another way the game is paying homage to Souls-like games. It's kind of designing its bosses in that way where it rewards you if you're patient.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are our favorite moments from Season 7. We're going to move on now to another Pick 5. It's favorite characters. So we'll just pick some characters from the games that we played. We can pick up to 5. So why don't you start on this one?
I would love to. And this is one that I know is not going to be in your list. It's not in a lot of people's list, but he's in mine. It's Luke Carter from Inscription. Luke Carter is the human in this game that you see live action footage from, and that's such a surprise in itself. But I think he adds that smarminess, that goofiness of a YouTuber, just kind of trying to do his thing, and then he stumbles across this huge secret that changes his life, right? And I thought this guy whoever the actor is, just played the part perfectly. I know that he is a little bit insufferable, but I leaned into it. I'm like, let's go. Luke Carter is Luke Carter. I've seen so many YouTubers do it like this, and I could tell that the actor probably looked at YouTubers for inspiration and put that into the performance, and that's just such a joy to recognize past YouTubers that I've seen.
Yeah. For the record, I don't find him insufferable. I think he's fine.
Okay.
It just wasn't my favorite part of the game in general.
Sure. Yeah. But also, when you're offered the video clips, a lot of them are kind of boring. A lot of them are straightforward, things you've seen before. But then they take a turn into WTF town. And Luke Carter's performance is part of that too.
Yeah. Again, I'm kind of going in order, ranked order a little bit. So I'm starting with like my least favorite of these. Calamus and Alula from One Shot. These are the siblings. And it's not just because, I have my own children that, could potentially remind me of them. I really found their story affecting, and especially in the second playthrough, once I got to the third part of the game, I think, the city, basically.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
All I could think about was like, I hope they're okay. I just want them to be okay. And I wasn't thinking about anything else. I just wanted to get back to them, and I wanted them to be okay.
Wow, that's powerful.
So Calamus and Alula, the siblings from One Shot.
My second favorite character from Season 7 is the little girl in Katana Zero. I don't think she has a name, but this is someone who grounds our character in a way. We have this setting we always return to between chapters in the apartment complex, and it's not a very kind place. Nowhere in Katana Zero.
The entire game is pretty
the entire game
sad.
Is sad and dirty and messy and unkind. And but this little girl in Katana Zero, I think, is setting up some things in the DLC that's coming up that we just got the reconfirmation of. And she just adds humanity into this game. I think this is a great foil to a lot of the other characters in the game. What a contrast between this girl and basically everybody else.
Including ourselves.
She
makes fun of our bathrobe, and we're like this badass multi-million murderer or whatever.
Yeah, and at a certain point, we wonder if we're going to assume this adoptive father role. I was thinking about that constantly, and it made me reconsider how I spoke to other characters, especially in the apartment building, because I had her in mind. What if what I say affects her? And so I think she's really important in guiding my decisions in the game.
I think at one point I did think about putting her on my list as well. So spoiler, she's not on my list. My next one, totally different direction. Georgie from Papers, Please. What a guy. What a card. In the episode, I called him our daily public radio caller.
It's so accurate.
He's just a riot, and he's never down. He's always just ready to take whatever life gives him, and it's usually his own fault.
He has all these counterfeit crayon ass passports and stuff, and you're just like, Georgie, this is fake. I'm kicking you out. He's like, all right, well, I love the job you're doing. You're doing a great job.
See you next time.
Yeah, I'll go talk to the police again. I'm sure they'll love to talk to me. I will skip ahead and just say that Georgie was going to be my fifth one that I mentioned. So that's already in my list. I only need to share two more from here.
Okay.
Yeah, what you said there was perfect. My next favorite character is Grandma from Fruit Bus.
Ooh, okay.
Grandma in Fruit Bus is one of the only characters, might be the only character that has voiceover, and she's just so wholesome. Again, she is giving you this guidance in your life from a young age, and then when she passes away, you feel this intense responsibility to carry on her legacy with this fruit bus. And I know it sounds goofy that there's this legacy with a bus that sells smoothies. Like how big of a deal could that be?
Mm-hmm.
But food and that service of going around to everybody in this archipelago, that is some of the lifeblood of this place. It's a great connector between people in this place, and you feel like you're honoring Grandma's memory in that. And she's also giving you these voiceover lines, these memories where you get to hear from her, you're remembering from when you were hanging out with her when you were young. And she's telling you stories. She's telling you about how she hid things places, and you're going to those places and digging them up. And so you're digging up these mementos from Grandma too. So it's just really sweet. What a sweet character and dynamic.
This is Fruit Bus sweeping this season like Ghost Song did last season.
It's the Fruit Bus sweep.
My next one is Becky from #Blood, but really her whole like core group of friends are pretty delightful, like Corey and her kind of goth friend and her friend from the hockey team. They're all pretty great, but I do really like Becky. She's snarky and fun and cute and is just that kind of person that if she can't get along with everyone, she can at least talk on their level, you know? So
yeah.
she's always approachable to everyone, you know, whether or not that person that she's talking to is a total asshat, and there are a couple of total asshats in this game.
Sure.
She's just someone that defies clicks, you know, like we mentioned earlier. So
I love that.
So Becky from #Blood,
Sweet.
but also all her friends.
Cool. Do you want to mention another one since I only have one more? Okay.
Yep. My next one, I mean, you could really take your pick, but I love a lot of the characters in Crap Game. I like Krill for the most part. I love Nema. I like Chitin. I love Conch, Topoda, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Even Firth, like, as a villain, essentially, as someone to hate. I love him as someone to hate.
That's how well he's performed and written.
Yeah.
You just immediately hate him.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could really just take your pick. Just people from Another Crab's Treasure.
It's the whole cast. It's an ensemble, and they're really good. My last pick for favorite characters, you know, other than Georgie, since you mentioned that one already, I'm picking the bears in What the Car. And this is a group of characters. They basically are set dressing and goofiness injected into the game. The game is already goofy, but these bears are introducing you to the next chapters. They dress in funny costumes. You'll find them lined up at the finish line, and you'll run into them at full speed, and they'll just go bouncing places. You'll run up to one on a springy playground toy, and it'll start like moving really fast, and then it will just fling off the screen. These bears just do whatever they want. I could have also mentioned the giraffes and other things from the game, but I think the bears just add so much personality to What the Car.
In our most recent stint of watching What the Car every single day, my youngest, who we happen to refer to as Bear online,
right?
Totally
As a
separate from
pseudonym,
this. Yeah. They'll just go, "Rawr, rawr." They'll try to do the bear sound.
I love that.
So it's
you
pretty
picked
great.
right for the name.
My last one is PO3. In Inscription, we start the game with him, and he's kind of like our first touch point of like sympathy. We're working to help, and you know, when we have to sacrifice his card, it's like, I hate to do it, man. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah.
And then something changes, and it's just like, PO3, you son of a bot, you little
Right.
stoat little mother brainer. Like,
I didn't see it coming.
yeah. But it was just like it went it made the story of Inscription a little bit more effective, I think, because we start from one place and we end in another. And then when we get that ending that I was referring to, it's just like, that's the resolution I wanted. That feels like it was worth it.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah. Great pick with PO3. Next, we will talk about our favorite storytelling. This is where we will select from all the games we played. We each pick a game with the writing or narrative style that sticks with us the most. DiscoCola, what's your favorite storytelling from Season 7?
Well, I feel like I know yours already, but I have a bit of an odd pick. I'm actually going to go with Papers, Please.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the story is like, it's not necessarily told directly. Like, we're not the one, our character's not delivering the exposition. The story isn't necessarily a full result of our actions. The story is happening to us, and our actions change based on what the story is. And so I think it's just a cool way to get the story from like the newspaper every day, and then like certain people that we see in our checkpoint, and how that changes what the newspaper is going to say the next day.
Yeah, there's so many layers. There's the layers of what you're doing. There's the layers of what you're reading about and hearing about your country. There's what the people in line do. There's what your superiors do. Everybody has motivations, and they clash all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There are sects and groups in the line that want you to do certain things. And then there are the things like the serial killer. How do you handle that?
Yeah.
And sometimes all of it is swirling in your mind at once, and it really gives you just the bigger picture of a brutal place.
Yeah. And it's I think that helps it to feel more immersive, which I've mentioned a few times this season. I don't often get immersed in games, but it's like I feel like I'm living in this regime, and I need to decide what's more important right now: the rules, my family, myself, my job. I have to measure what I need to prioritize at this specific day.
Yeah, and you start doing that game of playing 4 moves ahead. It's like, well, I could do this thing for this person, but if I instead do something that benefits me and helps me to survive, then I could help potentially more people. Is that worth it? Do I know that that's going to happen that way? Yeah, it's deep. Immersion is the theme here, because I'm going with Videoverse, which I was super immersed in for storytelling. This game has so many layers of storytelling. One of them is just Emmett and their relationships with people. There's this person that you're forming a relationship with and learning more about. They're very mysterious, and you unpack all these layers about them. But then there are all the side friends. There are the tertiary characters that you interact with in the forums. And I described in my review with these people as everyone having a brand in how they speak. And I think this is something you see in social media. Everybody has a short form way that they speak online. And if you read enough posts by DiscoCola, or you read enough posts by Bopo, you will notice patterns in our posts. And that will clue you into who is speaking. And I think this game is very mindful of that. And it manages to craft a cast of characters that is wildly diverse in 140 characters or less at a time, sometimes a little bit more, but it's usually just a sentence or two that you're getting from people, and that tells you a lot. It tells you a lot more than you might expect. It's also a coming of age story, like I've mentioned, and I related to some of the experiences of the people in this place. And we're also talking about, here in the real world, we're talking about new game consoles every few years. We're talking about the Switch 2 coming out soon. A big sort of hinge in this story is the sunsetting of this previous platform to make way for the new platform, and who's going to stay on board, who's going to jump ship to the next thing. And that actually affects the future of relationships in some cases, because some people might not be able to afford to jump ship. Some people might not want to move on, but some people will move on, and they'll leave people behind. And what happens to those relationships? There's a lot of unknown that's there. So it seems like it's just a game about video games and a game about social media, but it's also about our online relationships. And I think that's really powerful.
Cool. I love it. Next, we're going to move to favorite visuals. Selecting from all the games we played, we each pick a game with the graphics and visual style we love the most, and this one is hard for me most of the time. So um,
It's so hard.
you go ahead and go first, and that might actually change what I came prepared with.
Well, I'm going with a game that I think works because of its visual style. Like, I think without the visuals here, I don't think this game succeeds as much. I'm going with Miniatures.
Oh,
Miniatures is a game I haven't really talked about as much today, but this is a collection of 4 short stories that are very handcrafted. They have this really beautiful illustrated look. Every single one looks like you're pulling a children's storybook off the shelf and cracking it open. In some cases, tearing out the pages and like spreading them across the floor and scrolling along them. But these are mature stories. They're not necessarily violent or scary, but I think they touch on themes that are a little bit darker than you might expect from the premise. And I think the visuals tie into that, where there's a lot of shadows, there's a lot of dark colors, there's a lot of contrast in the colors. And each story also visually stands out from the other 3. So you can look at one of the stories and know, oh, that's Paludarium, or that's the Sandcastle. You know which one you're looking at because they're just so distinct and so varied in what they're doing. I just think it's beautiful. There are images and miniatures that are seared into my mind, like the child holding up the snail, or the child looking into their reflection in the water, or a sequence of 4 pairs of feet of a family that tell you a lot about who they are based on what they're wearing or how they carry themselves. And so there's a storytelling aspect that's happening with the visuals too, and we're barely talked to in the game. We read text, there's a little bit of VO, but the game really leans on visuals, and it does so very successfully in all 4 stories. It's hard to pick a favorite.
Cool.
What's your favorite visuals? Did I give you enough time to figure it out?
No. I really expected a certain pick, and it didn't happen. So I was like,
shoot. Oh, what were you expecting? I'm curious.
I was expecting Animal Well.
Oh, I thought about it, dude.
Yeah.
I totally thought about it. Yeah.
I have so many options because we've got I played 3 games with really attractive hand-drawn art in #Blood, Little Guardsman, and Chris Tales. We've got games with amazing pixel art in Animal Well and Katana Zero. And even Fez actually has some really great moments in pixel art. So, I came with one thing, and that's the game's brand. I'm going to swerve here, and I'm going to go with the pixel art game. I'm going to pick Animal Well.
Nice.
Because I did really want to play Animal Well for a super long time, and a lot of that is the visual identity of the game. And I think the pixel art is cool and creepy and wet and electric and it always looked really cool, and so many of the creatures are just regular ass creatures, but some of them are totally not, and that's kind of what makes it cool.
Yeah,
and it's really effective when it's done in pixel art.
There's an off-kilter nature to some of the characters and animals. I think there's a procedural way that some of them were animated so that you might start with a dog, for instance, but the way that dog moves might be a little uncanny.
Yeah.
And so you look at it, you're looking at a dog, you're looking at a dog that wants to chew you up or chase a Frisbee. But I've never looked at a dog that looks quite like that. It's weird. There's something off, and that happens all over the game, and that's due to the art in a large part.
Yeah, and just having the chunky pixels just makes it kind of I do wish a game could have looked like this, back in the day. Because if it was maybe a 3D model, it wouldn't look as scary. If it was a claymation kind of model, maybe that would be pretty creepy. But I love the pixel art in this game.
Sweet. Thank you for picking that. That's amazing. We're going to go on to our favorite soundscape. This is our last category of this section of the episode. We're selecting from all the games we played, and we're each picking a game with our favorite sound. This can lean on music, it can lean on sound design, voiceover performance, or maybe a mixture of all those things. DiscoCola, what's your favorite soundscape of Season 7?
Can I pick Haven? If not, I just want to shout it out here. I know that I can't.
Shout it out, but I'm not going to let you pick Haven.
I can't pick Haven, no. I know. But that music is so good. I have been listening to the music from Haven for weeks.
And just for clarification, we did mention the April Fool's episode. This is the game that we played for the No Small Games feed.
Yes.
A little bit earlier
so
this
we
year.
Did play Haven this season, but it was not for Underplayed. And I think it kind of like disqualifies for Underplayed now
It
because
does,
we both played it.
I think we agreed to that.
Yeah, which is, sorry, Haven, but we did give you a very lengthy and lovely review.
We did, like more so than many other games.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to pick Ibn Ob.
Wow.
Another Crab's Treasure probably has my favorite music from this season by like quite a lot. But as far as like a full package, sound effects and all of that, it's probably Ibn Ob. I do also want to shout out that Inscription has some of the best sound effects I've had in a game. So big shout out there. But as far as a full package, sound effects and music, Ibn Ob is my pick.
Very good choice. Very good choice. I kind of a surprising choice, but love that pick. So I had lots of soundscapes I loved from the season. We've got Fez, incredible soundtrack.
Disaster Piece. Baby.
Disaster Piece is so good. Katana Zero, right? Inscription, Papers, Please. Untitled Goose Game, the way the piano interacts with what you're doing, that's incredible sound design and something you'd never see. Another Crab's Treasure. Animal Well with its restraint. A lot of my secret games, but this category is all of those games to lose because I played Valley Peaks this season. I just happened to play Valley Peaks, and it's basically my favorite indie game soundtrack now.
It's very good.
You've listened to it.
Yeah, I've listened to some of it.
It is exuberant music. It's music that is just constantly giving me life. It's giving me a spirit. It's propelling me to want to keep climbing. It's a scary thing to be so high on a mountain and to think I could fall and lose all my progress in a matter of seconds. But then I listen to the music that's going on and it's encouraging. It's delightful. It's bright. It's a nice listen. I just always listen to this music. I listen to it when I'm streaming. I listen to it when I'm driving. And the music alone, I think, makes me want to replay Valley Peaks a little bit. Maybe not the whole game, but just to climb a few mountains, just to remember that pairing of gameplay and soundscape.
I've got games like that, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
You just want to jump in for a few minutes and do that.
Cool. Well, those were our favorite soundscapes. That's part 1, all done, baby.
Part 1 all done. Thank you very much, DiscoCola, for doing this with me.
Thank you, Bopo.
I forget what we usually do to transition, but
I literally listened to episode 66 last night, and I just gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to part 2 of this episode, which is where we plan our featured games of season 8.
Yeah, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? In the show. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next? In the what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next in the show?
Is there anything about like introducing this that you want to do?
No, just that if you're feeling a little fatigued in this episode, just know that at least last season this section went pretty quick. So if you're just like, all right, guys, wrap it up, you probably don't have that much longer to go.
And I try to edit out some of the just pausing that we do to think and to look things up.
Oh, that reminds me, I need to open How Long to Beat. We're going to need that for this section.
We're going to need that.
So.
And I actually didn't come prepared with as much as I usually come prepared
with. three tier picks here?
No.
Not this time?
Not as much. So it might take me a little bit longer. But we'll talk about how this will go very briefly. So we have a list of vetted indie games to feature in the future. We don't have an exact science for picking a featured game, but it should be special and well-known, I think, are the two things that make a featured game. Maybe sometimes a game is just more well-known than it is special. But those are the ingredients that we feel like we run into. And so that's how we come up with ideas for the list. Each of us needs to pick some of these games to review next season. We do have guests, and they picked games from the list already.
Yes.
But we have come prepared with picks that we want, but we don't know each other's lists. So I don't really have a list, so there's no way you could know mine. But if Disco has some in mind, I don't know what he's going to pick here.
I mean, I know you well, and I could make predictions, of course.
Yeah,
but
I have ideas, but nothing is for sure. And we want to aim for diversity when it comes to the game lengths, the genres, the personalities. of the games to the best of our abilities. So we'll create an order for season 8 that favors variety from one episode to the next. And at least one of the featured games must be co-op, which we will stream together on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/underplayedpodcast. Give that a follow. And since it is an even-numbered season we're prepping for, it is DiscoCola's turn to pick a co-op game.
Yes.
And as we go, we might share a little bit about what we already know about each game. We might share the brief synopsis from Steam, for instance. And then any and all decisions made here are subject to change between seasons, depending on unforeseen circumstances. So this is like 99% locked into place. We want to reserve that right to change things if something comes up. If you would like to come along with us in our journey of featured games for next season, be sure to follow us on podcast platforms. We have links to our social media below in the show notes. You can also follow our Twitch channels, and you can feel welcome to play any of these games you have access to and share your thoughts with us as we go. And we don't mind how you do that. You could send us a private message. You could chat with us in a stream, anything. We would love the outreach from the people out there. So let's talk about our guest picks.
Yes. Start there.
Do you want to share about the first?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So we invited Matt Storm, aka Stormageddon, the co-host of Fun and Games podcast. We invited them to the podcast, and they were the ones that invited us onto the side quest series. And they have decided that they want to play Slay the Princess: The Pristine Cut, which I am so stoked for. And I kind of remember them talking about this in one of the episodes of Fun and Games, just as like a passing comment. And I've kind of played this a little bit already. So what they said in that passing comment just has me really fascinated with their thoughts on Slay the Princess.
So they're familiar with Slay the Princess. I actually saw them at PAX East and got their brief thoughts on this, and they seemed super excited. So I can't wait to play this game. I know you've played Slay the Princess: The Pristine Cut a little bit, and it just sounds really good. So our next guest pick is going to be 1000 Times Resist, and the person who picked that is Lucy Blundell, a.k.a. Kinmoku, the developer of One Night Stand and Videoverse. We asked...
which we've talked about in this episode.
We've talked about in this very episode, y'all. So this is going to be another game developer. Lucy is based in Germany, I want to say, so it'll be another big difference in time zones that we're recording in. But 1000 Times Resist really spoke to us for her pick because she is a narrative-first game designer. Narrative is very important to her, and narrative is hugely important in 1000 Times Resist.
Cool. Up next, one of our games will be Crosscode, and we will be reviewing that with Proto Dude, otherwise known as Brian. And Proto Dude is like a Mega Man super fan. He's like the guy for like Mega Man news that doesn't come directly from Capcom.
Incredible.
So I was super stoked that he agreed to come on the show. He's also the creator of Rockman Corner. That's his website where you can get all the Mega Man news. So we're going to be playing Crosscode with him, and I'm super stoked, obviously, being a Mega Man fan. We've talked a couple of times here and there, not only about Mega Man, but like Transformers and stuff too.
Ooh,
so
fun.
It's going to be a fun time.
That sounds awesome. And then our next guest's pick is going to be Dwarf Romantic, and it was picked by Hey It's Haley, a friend of ours, first and foremost, but Haley is also a variety Twitch streamer. Haley does it all, y'all. Y'all should follow Hey_It's Haley on Twitch. She streams cozy games. She makes videos about cozy and wholesome games. She streams community games, all kinds of like party games from time to time. She does co-working
streams.
She has
been in a number of those.
Yeah, co-working. So she helps you be productive. She does arts and crafts. And another thing she loves is board games. And Dwarf Romantic is a board game first, video game second, I want to say. It is technically an indie game, and it is a significant one. Lots of people have played Dwarf Romantic, I think just by the fact that it is a well-known board game turned into a video game that's an indie game. I think that is just a very unique featured game premise here. And so, Hey It's Haley is going to help us review this game that we already know she loves, and she might be able to compare and contrast the physical board game to the digital board game, which is fun.
Now, if Hey It's Haley does it all, y'all is not in your little rhyme for her, I'm going to be so ticked.
It does it all, y'all. Love that. Then we have a little placeholder here. We have another guest who is still picking their game. I'm not going to say who they are yet. I figured we could record a follow-up if they get back to us, but I did hear from them today, or I heard from the person from the place that this person was looking into it. So this is just going to be a placeholder. Hey.
Hi.
What's going on?
It's been a couple weeks, and so we learned some new information that we didn't have when we first recorded this episode. So up first, we got our final for surezies confirmation of our 5th guest for the season.
Yeah.
Which will actually be the 3rd guest in our lineup. And do you want to talk about who that is and where they're from?
Absolutely. So our 5th guest will be Kara, a writer from Patch Magazine. And Kara chose Blueprints from our list, which is very convenient because you'll hear us in this episode talk about picking Blueprints as one of our picks anyway. So it just works out that way.
Yep. So we still pick it and we talk about it as if it's one of our picks, but also it just ends up being one of the guest games anyways in the end.
We have another edit we need to talk about, but we'll do another cutaway, I think, later. So we'll send you back now. So those are our guests for season 8. So we're very excited to have them. And now we need to go back and forth picking other featured games to fill in the slots. We need to fill some slots here. What
should we start? Let's start with the co-op game, because that one's like a mandatory.
Let's do it.
Okay. The co-op game that I decided we should pick, since it's my turn, is Human Fall Flat.
Whoa.
And
why? Why did you pick this one?
The literal only reason for that is that there was a copy of it at Walmart and I grabbed it.
Amazing.
So
may I read the Human Fall Flat premise from Steam?
By all means.
Human Fall Flat is a hilarious, lighthearted platformer set in floating dreamscapes that can be played solo or with up to 8 players online.
Good Lord.
Free new levels keep its vibrant community rewarded.
So I got the Switch physical version. So that is all set, and that is what we will play on twitch.tv/underplayed podcast at some point.
Now, is that cross-platform if you play online?
I didn't look into that.
If it's not, we could play locally.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah.
You got it for Switch. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I will pick for my first slot. I'm going to pick a roguelike. I'm going to pick Rogue Legacy.
Ooh, okay.
This is a more classic game. This is one I played years ago. This is a side-scrolling roguelike where you inherit the traits of your previous ancestors that die. So you play a lineage, if you will.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's called Rogue Legacy. And there's a sequel, Rogue Legacy 2, that I never played. But we'll play the first one first. And you inherit traits like colorblindness, ADHD, irritable bowel syndrome, like all kinds of stuff like that. So here's the pitch from Steam. Rogue Legacy is a genealogical roguelite where anyone can be a hero. Each time you die, your child will succeed you. Every child is unique. One child might be colorblind. Another might be a dwarf with vertigo. But that's okay because no one is perfect and you don't have to be to succeed. So there you go.
All right. I believe there is a physical version of that, so I will look for that.
Yeah, do it.
My next pick, I've really wanted to play this for a while. It's a little bit of a sports game. It's a little bit of an action game. And I don't really know a ton more about it other than that, except that it reminds me a lot of really cool, like, Dreamcast era games.
Okay.
I want to pick Bomb Rush Cyberfunk,
nice,
which is now on several platforms.
I love it. Cool. I'll read the description for that real quick. This was a recent addition to our list. I think we kind of skipped over it when it first came out in 2023. We didn't really put it on the list until recently. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, I'm going to struggle with that name forever onward. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is 1 second per second of advanced funk style. I don't even know what that means. Let me read this again. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is 1 second per second of advanced funk style. Battle rival crews and dispatch militarized police to conquer the 5 boroughs of New Amsterdam. Become all city. Love the pick. Very excited to play this one. I've heard nothing but great things. Now it's time for me to pick one. I feel drawn to the puzzle category.
Okay.
I really do. Ooh.
You are good at a puzzle game.
Would you be willing to play?
There's one on here that's on my list too, so I'd love if you picked that one.
Oh, interesting. So I started this recently. So selfishly, I want to play it because I started it recently and also because it's so new and it's getting a lot of buzz.
And it's
Blueprints.
the one. Yep, that's the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh, you're typing it.
Oh, sorry, you typed.
Blueprints. We're going to play Blueprints twice. That sounds like it'll be kind of interesting. Nice, dude. Okay, sweet. Blueprints. This is actually a game that I played the demo of during a Next Fest, and it did not hit. And I think it's because it was a demo, and I didn't understand the full scope. But I'm digging the 3 hours that I've played of the full game so far. So, Blueprints page says, "Welcome to Mount Holly, where every dawn unveils a new mystery. Navigate through shifting corridors and ever-changing chambers in this genre-defying strategy puzzle adventure. But will your unpredictable path lead you to the rumored Room 46?
So I actually know nothing about this game, actually.
It's basically a roguelike game where you're investigating this manor and building it room by room, but you never know what rooms you're going to be offered to build.
Okay.
And you are collecting clues and noticing things, making tons of notes, trying to figure out what the story is. It's just a big puzzle box.
See,
with tons of layers.
The one person that said something about it that got me interested in it was like, man, if you loved Obra Dinn, you should play Blueprints. And I'm like, based on what you've just told me, I'm like, I don't really get that.
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, awesome. I'm glad you picked that.
Sweet.
Also.
Okay, so that gives you freedom.
That gives me freedom to pick something else. Okay, so I've got a couple of things here. One I've wanted to play for years, and I've tried to pick it like 3 different times, and it hasn't been on a platform that I had any of those times, but now it is. All right, I just want to play this damn game. I want to play Sable, please.
Okay, let's play Sable.
Please play Sable.
Yeah, let's do it.
Wanted to play this forever.
Love that pick. Okay, and then the last one that I'll pick, I'll go with a game that's getting a sequel this year, Moonlighter.
That was one of my lists.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I need to go back and read the descriptions.
Sable.
Yeah, the Sable one. Okay, so the Sable description reads, embark on a unique and unforgettable journey and guide Sable through her gliding, a rite of passage that will take her across vast deserts and mesmerizing landscapes capped by the remains of spaceships and ancient wonders. I've looked forward to this for years.
And that opening song, Glider by Japanese Breakfast, so good.
Then we have Moonlighter. Moonlighter's page says, Moonlighter is an action RPG with roguelite elements that demonstrates 2 sides of the coin, revealing everyday routines of Will, an adventurous shopkeeper that secretly dreams of becoming a hero. This is a game with like 2 vastly different dynamics going on, I think, where you're dungeon crawling, getting gear, and then you're managing a shop with that gear.
Yep.
So those are our picks. Now we need to create an order, and my brain is leaking out of my ears. So if you have any...
I have some ideas.
If you have ideas. Okay.
I do have ideas. So I want to start with Blueprints.
Okay, why? That's interesting.
Mostly because I just want to get to it as soon as possible, because there's only so much more time before that like phase passes, you know?
Got it. Yeah, you want to maximize, you want to capitalize on this moment.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So let's start there, and then we should probably have a guest episode.
Yep. We do have to save. We have to save Crosscode for like later season because that game is long.
Let's plan on that one being the last guest episode.
Yeah.
So that could be like 8 or 9, for instance. I'm good with Slay the Princess being second.
Okay. The only thing was that I liked the idea of trying to get it as close to Halloween as possible.
Oh.
But that would make it like episode 7, I think. Let me look at the calendar real quick.
Okay.
But also, the release date that's closest to Halloween is like the 22nd of October.
Oh.
So it's really not that close.
Yeah, because Halloween falls right in the middle of 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I see.
So it would be episode 9 of the season, and it wouldn't come out until the 21st of October.
Okay.
So
we could do Dwarf Romantic as our second. And
we
then...
could do that. I'm also like, because of that big gap between the 21st and the 31st, I'm not super married to the Halloween idea. Okay. So that's up
Sounds
to you.
Good. I know that it'll probably be easier to alert Matt about this for relatively early in the season because they have lots of games that they play. They have a lot of time to play games. So I think it's fine to pick Slay the Princess for second. I'm good with it.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Cool. And then we could do...
We could really do
anything.
Any of those. How long is Rogue Legacy?
Ooh, Rogue Legacy can be kind of long.
Okay. Maybe that one's like a mid-season one then.
So don't be scared by the 100% completion because it's like 40 hours, but the main story, it says 16 and a half.
Oh, that's fine. I'd still maybe put that mid-season. We could do Sable or Bomb Rush or Moonlighter. Any of those ones.
Sable.
Okay.
Sable's speaking to me. I can't explain why.
Yeah.
Then let's do another guest episode. I think maybe we want to do 1000 Times Resist is a bit longer. How long is Dwarf Romantic?
I think based on how short...
17 and a half hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think how short all of those first 3 games are in comparison. Like if we wanted to do 1000 Times Resist next, that would be fine with me.
Okay. We can do that. That sounds like a good plan for now. And again, listeners, this might change in the next few weeks, so we'll see. Okay, so 1000 Times Resist at 4. Then we could do Rogue Legacy, which you said would be good for mid-season.
Okay.
This is going very well. Then we could do Dwarf Romantic. We could, I think.
Yep. Do you want to do maybe Human Fall Flat after Dwarf Romantic?
Sure.
Okay. Crosscode or Bomb Rush, I think, could go in either order, either spot. And I think Moonlighter for a season closer is fine.
Okay. Moonlighter being a season closer. Yeah, that sounds good. Wait, so is it good at how it is?
That's fine with me, or you could swap 8 and 9. I really don't care.
Yeah, okay. So, for now, the order. Do you want to say the order?
Sure. So the order for season 8 of Underplayed, as it stands right now, is...
It's time. Just the end drops out.
Get that low note in there.
As the bass part. So this is the next little cutaway we have. What do we have to talk about here?
Okay, so because of some scheduling issues that may cause conflict, we have adjusted our order yet again. So here is the final order for season 8, and we're sticking with it because we already have the recording scheduled for the first one, so it's locked in.
It's happening.
Slay the Princess, the pristine cut, is up first. Then we have Sable, then Dwarf Romantic, third, Rogue Legacy, fourth, then Blueprints, then Moonlighter, then 1000 Times Resist, and then Human Fall Flat will be episode 8, episode 9 will be Crosscode, and episode 10 will be Bomb Rush Cyberfunk.
All right, nothing else to say, I think. That is the order.
If we have something else to say, then we're going to have to drive back to the studio and do this again.
I'll see you for the next one.
But
Disco.
we don't have time. This episode's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah. So this is it. All right, sending you back now. Cool. A lot of variety here. We have action. We've got co-op platforming. We've got a simulation game. We've got narrative-based games. We've got a roguelike, a puzzle game. Really great adventures in store for us in Season 8. DiscoCola, I know that our breaks between seasons are shorter these days, but is there anything you're looking forward to doing before Season 8?
You know, I've kind of already been working on it. I'm basically already in my break, but I've been playing Going Under. I'm trying to,
Nice.
I turned on assist mode and I'm trying to clean up trophies. I decided not to stream the remainder of what I need to do. So I'm just trying to clean up there, trying to clean up some trophies in Ghost Song that I still need. And I've done a lot of that. I just need to do the speedrun playthrough and the no death playthrough. I'm also farming currency in that game. My PS5 is on right now.
That's why I've seen you playing that game so much. I see.
It's been on so much, so I'm just kind of like spamming to get currency.
That's hilarious.
It's one of my favorite indie games at this point. Like I moved it way, way, way up on my backlogged list recently. I played through it. I got a second ending. I don't know if I talked about that yet.
I don't think so.
There's a second ending that you can get, and it's quote unquote the good ending. I don't know if I like it as much as the not good ending, if I'm honest. But it's just one of my favorite games now. So
I love that.
I don't feel ashamed or bad about just laying on the horn and getting as much currency as I can while I'm sleeping. I don't know. I might try to get What the Car. I might wait though. I might wait though. I don't know.
Yeah. The time will strike.
Yeah.
You'll feel it.
It'll be fine. And if I'm up for it, I might play Wilmot Works It Out.
Oh, cool.
But I'm also kind of hoping for a console port on that.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that happening because Wilmot's Warehouse came to consoles.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I'm being realistic, that's probably where it ends. Like,
sure.
So I don't really have too much more left in Going Under. So as soon as I finish that, I'll probably try to just hammer out Iris and the Giant, which I've been streaming.
Yeah.
But that's all I'm going to have time for, I think.
Recently, I've just been streaming lots of random games.
You've been all over the place.
I've been all over the place. I've done a co-op game in Bokuda Planets, the follow-up to Bokuda. I did that with my friend Hype Monk. We had people over to my house to play Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. You were there. And actually playing through that game with friends made me want to check out the PlayStation 4/5 port of Size Matters, which was on the PSP, I believe. So that's one of the Ratchet & Clank games I never played, and it has trophies now because it's on PlayStation 5. So I've been going through that. I played Crypt Custodian recently. And it's super good. I think you would love it.
I really wanted to pick it for the season, but I couldn't guarantee that the physical would be here in a timely way.
I think what I'll do is I will not pick that as a secret game. Slight spoiler for my future, but I won't pick that as a secret game because I kind of hope that you do.
Oh, okay. I thought it was on our featured game list.
It's not.
Oh.
It's not. It's one of those games that I think kind of rides the line where it's like, I'm not sure if it should be featured game material.
Well, I thought it was already there, and I would push for it to be there if you feel comfortable with that.
Okay. We'll talk about it after this. Yeah, I don't know. I played through Pikmin 3.
Yeah.
That's cool. We might also talk about some of this stuff in the first episode of the next season. We might talk about like what non-indie games we've played since season 7 or what indie games we've played that weren't in season 7 in our intro episode, just to kind of catch up. I might pick some highlights.
Yeah, I know I'm going to play some Ninja Turtles on my birthday with the kids.
Ooh,
so that'll
cool. That'll be so fun.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm ready to end, I think. Are you ready to
I'm
end?
ready to go to bed. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Cool. So that is the end of this episode and season of Underplayed. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. What the heck?
Yeah, you won't be without us for too long now that we're on our new release schedule. It'll only be about a month. This comes out like right at the end of May. So you've got all of June and like 2 days in May without Underplayed.
Oh,
and we'll be back on, I think it's July 2nd is our season 8 premiere.
It'll be here before you know it. So you can find more of our episodes at kzum.org/underplayed and on common podcast platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Our music was composed by Jack Rodenberg. Our art comes from Onimochi. You can check out our show notes where you can find and follow us across social media. Underplayed is on Bluesky, Instagram, and Threads. You can also find my links down below, and I stream a variety of indie games on Twitch.
And I am at DiscoCola, occasionally streaming on Twitch, but mostly just hanging out, talking about indie games and Transformers on Bluesky. And you can follow the Underplayed podcast channel on Twitch, where we will be playing Human Fall Flat, probably sometime in August or
September or something like that. It'll be here before you know it. Next season, we will have plenty more secret and featured games to play and review. Until then, everybody, keep on playing.